evening. Welcome to the Monday, December 13th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Commissioners, starting a little bit late at 6:43 p.m., scheduled for 6:30. We're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are late because we're coming back from the executive session, which was scheduled for 5:30 today, at which we discussed issues relating exclusively to personnel. We're going to start today with the recognition of some of our outgoing elected officials. I'm going to call down to the front of the dais Commissioner Richard Booker. Commissioner Booker, please know the citizens, commissioners, and staff of Radnor Township sincerely appreciate and thank you for your outstanding service and lasting contributions to help make Radnor Township the best place to live, work, play, and do business on the main line. Rich, you were commissioner for years before I even knew where this building was in the township. Congratulations. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to thank everyone in Radnor, all the taxpayers, the constituents, for providing me with this opportunity to serve. I was elected in 2013, so I've been on the Board of Commissioners since 2014, and we have seen quite a bit since 2014 around here. And there's quite a few that have been here, but there's quite a few, especially on the board, who haven't been here. But we've been at this for a long time, 8 years. And before this, I was on the school board for 4 years as well. So it has been something that local politics has been something that I've been involved with for the past 20 years or so, all told. And it's been a big part of my life. And it's been a rewarding way to serve this community. And I thank Bill White. Bill's not even sitting there. I was going to say Bill White, one of the there he is. Bill's probably out of the years I've been in local politics. Bill's probably the best head administrator that I've worked with. Some might say there's a dearth of competition, but the best is the best. So you can't take that away from him. And I'd like to thank the other folks, Steve Norsini and all the commissioners, my family as well, for for putting up with what it takes to be in the public and to do your best. People always used to say to me, why would you want to serve, and why would you go into politics? And the answer is to make a difference. And that's always what my goal was, to make a difference, and in some small way. And a lot of people would say in a very small way, but in some small way, I think I did that. So thank you all.
Okay, next up on the block, Commissioner Kathy Agnew. Commissioner Agnew, please know that the citizens, commissioners, and staff of Radnor Township sincerely appreciate and thank you for your outstanding service and lasting contributions to help make Radnor Township the best place to live, work, play, and do business on the main line. Kathy, we desperately needed your assistance when we had a vacancy and we needed an additional person on the board. You were by far the best candidate that we saw. We're so grateful that you stepped up to serve when we knew that you didn't have the time to do so long-term. It made a huge difference to you, to the board, and to our community. Thank you.
This on or no? Is it on? I didn't really know how this was going to go, so I'm sort of surprised by this, but thank you very much. It made a big difference to me in my life. It was truly an honor, and it was an honor to work with you. Before, I knew you when you had glasses, and so it was a month ago, but really thank you all very much. I appreciate my family who really, as Commissioner Booker had said, really put up with a lot so that I could take part in this. Anna Marie, the best to you. And everybody else. What a pleasure, really, really, what a pleasure and an honor it has been. Thank you very much.
Treasurer Catherine Gartland is next. I don't see her here, but we have a plaque which maybe, Bill, you could take on her behalf. Treasurer Gartland, please know that the citizens, commissioners, and staff of Radnor Township sincerely appreciate and thank you for your outstanding service and lasting contributions to help make Radnor Township the best place to live, work, play, and do business on the main line, awarded December 13th, 2021. Thank you very much. Can we get a round of applause?
Thank you, sir. If I asked my command staff to come up, Manager Bill White, and also Lieutenant Chris Four, Judge Lang, please join us. We'll be doing promotions tonight. This is a very exciting time for the police department when we're able to move people forward after their dedicated service. There'll be 2 promotions tonight, a lieutenant's promotion and a sergeant's promotion. As we get ready, I will give you a snapshot. Sergeant Chris Floor will be promoted to lieutenant. He's a 16-year veteran of the Radnor Township Police Department, a graduate of Westchester University with a degree in criminology. Sergeant Four was part of an elite Central Delco SWAT team, a field training officer, and also served the detective unit for over 6 years in that position. Most importantly, he has this wonderful family here. His dad, Tony, his wife, Lauren, son, Ryland, and Adeline, his daughter, are here to celebrate with him. A neat story is Sergeant Four one day on his patrol in the summer found a dog named Carl here in Radnor Township, and the family decided to take Carl in instead of turning him over to the pound. So he actually rescued a dog as well in his career. So a well-rounded career. But I'm going to turn it over for the promotion, and I would ask his wife to come up and join him.
I, Christopher Four,
I, Christopher Four,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States of America,
that I am a citizen of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
all the duties of a police lieutenant
all the duties of a police lieutenant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
I would ask Officer Fisher to please join us for his promotion to sergeant and his family as well. Officer Fisher joined the Radnor Township Police Department in 2001. He's had over 20 years of dedicated service. Interestingly, Officer Fisher worked as a Villanova Public Safety Security Guard, where he left at the rank of sergeant. He also attended the Villanova University as well. He's achieved his police certification through the Delaware County Police Academy. Mike Fisher is also a field training officer, a first aid instructor, and actually reobtained his national EMT here at the police department to help serve our residents. He also has stepped in during COVID, filling in some spots for over a year as an acting sergeant. Mike Fisher is very involved with the Delaware County Christian School, where his family attends. Tonight with us is his mom and brother. I got to give a shout out to Mom. His two children, daughter Lily and son Eli, and his wife for over 24 years, Sarah, who will help join in the presentation.
I, Michael Fisher,
I, Michael Fisher,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States of America,
that I am a citizen of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
all the duties of a police sergeant
all the duties of a police sergeant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Sergeant? All right. Mr. White, if you'd be willing to stay up here. Just like to, with the presentation of promoting Chris Ford to lieutenant, the unfortunate side of it is we're losing a very good friend. And before I start the presentation, I'd be remiss if I asked all the residents and commissioners to look behind you and see the Radnor Police Force standing in support of their brothers and sisters. This has been an unprecedented year for our community with COVID, with lives lost, civil unrest, and other things. And you guys have faithfully served this township during unprecedented times. I could not be more proud of you, so thank you for that. And I also acknowledge every one of the department heads and their teams because they were right in there with us. What I don't like about retirement speeches is when you say January 3rd, 1995 to January 3rd, 2022, it really is a snapshot or a quick flash image of a career, a lifetime of emotions, good times, bad times, lives saved, lives lost, arresting people, helping people who are in need. It never really captures what an officer went through. I would say that when you know Sean Dietrich, that he's a guy who anybody will come in and pour their heart to. So I won't go into all the stories, all the units he quit, and I tried to talk him out of getting in trouble here. But I will tell you that the amount of support, what I think about the most of his friendship and leadership as a lieutenant, is the amount of people, including people inside this building, who come to him. So 27 years, I could spend the whole night talking, and I promised I wouldn't. But 27 years of your faithful service, your brothers and sisters showed up to thank you for that. You should be damn proud of your service. Thank you. That's it. You want to sign it? He did get an award.
They forgot to give it to him. They forgot to give it to him. He got a little crystal plaque thing. I'll get it outside. Okay. With repeated thanks to our outgoing elected officials and a special thanks to our promoted and retiring police staff, we're going to start the meeting proper with item 1, public participation. Seeing no public participation, I will call for the consent agenda. Are there any items that any of the commissioners would like to pull?
I would like J and K and L and M for the time being, and I.
And what?
I.
Okay, let's go in alphabetical order. Item I, Resolution 2021-122, authorizing the township to enter into an agreement with World Cup Sports Academy for 2022 seasonal programming. I will so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Bill, Bob, Tammy?
Tammy.
Yes.
I'm not sure why I just assumed this was finance. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know if there were any specific questions. So what these are, really all these resolutions are basically an authorization for the Recreation Department to engage with the corresponding vendor, in this case with Resolution 2021-122, is World Cup Sports Academy, which is a vendor that our department's been working with for about 18 years now, really for the latter part of my time, or for the main part of my time here being in Radnor Township. And World Cup Sports Academy offers and delivers a variety of programs on an annual basis with our department, namely the Survivor Nature Camp that takes place for 7 weeks over at the Willows, among a junior sports and soccer academy, a junior nature camp. And this authorization basically gives us, the department, the ability to work with this vendor. They basically meet a lot of requirements that we have for health and safety, emergency protocols, insurance. They meet all of these requirements that we have that are really stringent to deliver programming. So they are basically a contracted vendor to our department, providing services that our department staff members don't directly go out and provide because we coordinate. So we basically, when we sell the program and we put it out to the community, we basically don't engage that programming until we've reached a point where we have enough participation and we've generated enough revenues to really to cover the amount of money that's been covered within the contract. Each one having, of course, each program having a different strategy and process that we go about. So this allows us, upon authorization, this allows us to be able to engage that programming, offer it to the community, and then upon reaching a certain amount of participation, be able to pay the said vendor the contracted obligation that we have within the resolution.
So we pay them or they pay us?
We
then?
pay them.
So we pay them in the amount of $241,000?
No, in the case of World Cup
Total?
Sports Academy, it's estimated to be $110,000 that we would generate in revenue, and that would be the contractual obligation that we would have to them. Our department then, as we sell the programming, we have a percentage that we make above and beyond that, which is roughly about an additional 25%. that is, that comes in to cover our indirect costs for staffing, for marketing, online registration, and those kinds of things.
So then they pay us maybe instead of 110, 130, and then we pay them back 110? How does?
We take in the revenues,
We
so
take
we
in
take in the revenues, and then
of how
based on
much?
the contract, which depending on which programming it is, I think the range is from 18 to 25% that we would keep. They get the balance of what that income is. So we
Okay.
pay them basically to deliver those programs.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is there any additional commissioner comment? Hearing none, I will move for Resolution 2021-122. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Moving to item G.
That's fine, I don't need any, they're all basically the same. I don't need any additional.
Okay.
So if the rest of the board is fine, then I don't need it.
In that case, I will move for the balance of the consent agenda, items A through H and J through N. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Now, before we move on to item 3A, I will fumble through the packet to try and call this up because we have a slightly different format than we used to previously. All right, item 3A, proclamation in favor of Arbor Day. Proclamation, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our township increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, therefore, him, William White, Radnor Township Manager, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 29th, 2022, as Arbor Day in the Township of Radnor, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and do commend this observance to all of our citizens. Furthermore, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. All right, moving on to item 3B. Resolution 2021-142,
Wait,
authorizing.
do we have to vote on that?
It's just a proclamation. I don't think we vote on it.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Resolution 2021-142, authorizing the execution of the distribution settlement participation form and Janssen settlement participation form. I will so move. Is there a second?
Second.
John, could you tell us about this?
Yes. The township was approached by the county, Delaware County, and the law firm that's representing the county in this opioid nationwide lawsuit. The state of Pennsylvania is also a party, but Delaware County and the Commonwealth are both plaintiffs. They've negotiated a settlement agreement, but it's contingent on participation to some extent by larger municipalities, 10,000 population or more. So what was requested, and I was on a call with all the solicitors in Delaware County representing municipalities of 10,000 people or more, and we were asked to participate in this, to follow through with this participation form, because the more participants on a municipal level, the more money could flow to Delaware County, to Pennsylvania, and then to Delaware County. I think Pennsylvania is going to actually have to negotiate the final numbers, but it'll come to Delaware County. It won't come to Radnor Township, but it will come to Delaware County to fund opioid programs, drug prevention programs, educational programs. It's money that's, that doesn't exist. So it's probably a couple $1 million for Delaware County, is my guess. So I registered the township on the website, which generated the participation form. This has to be approved by the end of this month. There is a deadline on all this, because there's so many parties involved, there's so many municipal entities. So there's two separate settlement forms here, and it's essentially a release. The township's not in the lawsuit, we're not a plaintiff, we're not a defendant, but we're being asked by the county and the Commonwealth to participate in order to increase the funds flowing into the state. So that's what's in front of you, to approve this, authorize Bill to sign off on both of these documents, and then I need to upload this to the nationwide settlement site by the end of the month. There's a January 3rd deadline on all of this, assuming there's enough people enough municipalities that participate. There's no cost to the township. There's only a gain to the township and to the county from funds that would come into this, come to the township from the settlement fund.
Do you have any concerns that by entering into this release, there's valuable compensation that would otherwise flow to the township that we would be giving up?
I'm sorry, Jack, I didn't hear that.
Sure. Do you have any concerns that by entering into this release, there is valuable compensation that would flow to the township, but for our entry into the release that we would be giving up?
The only compensation that could flow to the township if we decided we wanted to file a lawsuit ourselves, which I don't think Radnor individually is equipped to do. You would have to show Radnor damages. You would have to go through what the state is attempting to do. I mean, this is being triggered by all the municipal plaintiffs, including Delaware County and the Commonwealth and many, many other states. And that's why there's a pot of money being generated at this point to be shared among local municipalities. But in order to have anything to flow into Delaware County, we've got to get involved. It's, it's sort of signing up for money that, we wouldn't otherwise see. But only if we filed our own lawsuit. But we're not really equipped to do that.
Thank you.
So, John, explain to me exactly why it is that we need to sign a release that we participate so that the county can get more money. How are they, why is that a metric, number one? Why does our participation have any effect whatsoever on the county and their settlement?
Well, look at it as the county and the state. Look at it as the state. Because the state's really running this, and the county is a co-plaintiff. But there's a pot of money, 21, $22 million that will be distributed based upon population and evidence of opioid problems that were created by the manufacturers. The metric, and Rich, I'm not in this lawsuit with any of the parties, so the metric is population. Population that the Commonwealth can show has been affected by this problem, by the distribution, the manufacture, and use of opioids. That's the metric. It's that simple.
Well, but that's got nothing to do with this resolution, though. We're not showing any evidence of harm. We're just saying, we're just signing release. What it sounds like is if you can get a release, therefore precluding any subsequent additional lawsuits or attempts to recover from this fund, then your state may get more money. So the more releases you collect, then the more the state might get. But what is the guarantee that any of that would come to Radnor?
Well, I think what I said at the outset is the money will not come directly to Radnor Township. It'll come to Delaware County, who has drug prevention programs throughout the county. I'm assuming within Radnor, that money will filter down, but it's going to come at the county level. There's not going to be a check written to Radnor Township or Springfield Township or any of the other large townships, but the amount of money that could flow is dependent on population. We've been asked, the township's been asked by the county and the state to sign up for this. We have over 10,000 in population, and that seems to be anything less than that. I don't think the county or the state are that concerned about it. They want the larger municipalities involved in this.
Well, but again, perhaps I'm not explaining what I believe their intent is. Their intent is to get as many big jurisdictions to sign off and give them a release.
Correct.
So that we won't, as Jack alluded to, file our own case subsequently.
It's a release.
Right, because if it's just by population, they don't need us to do anything. They can just look at the census or other population data and then determine how to split it up from that. This seems to be something much different than that, which is Radnor relinquishes any right to any claim on that settlement fund. And that seems to be what's driving. Again, so it looks like by a state or county basis, the more people that they can get to relinquish their rights, the more of a share that they stand to get from that settlement pot.
Correct. In Delaware County.
Can I jump in?
In Delaware County.
But there's no agreement with Delaware County. There's no.
But Rich, we
Well,
don't.
well, but so my issue is Radnor appears to be relinquishing its right any further with no guarantee of anything in return for that, other than the county perhaps getting more than it otherwise might. So that would be the sub portion of this is, what if we don't? How do we know how that will affect the settlement?
No, I hear your point, and I appreciate it, but it's my understanding that these monies will only go to support programming. We as a township do not provide drug and alcohol programming. So we would not be able to access these funds for our purposes anyway. And by saying that we'll sign up for you, we're allowing the county and the state to receive perhaps more funding for our residents who need to seek those services at the county and state level. We don't provide any treatment for opioid addiction. So that's what the funding goes to.
I understand. The issue is we are giving something. We are relinquishing our right to any claim, in return for which there is no direct benefit.
I
Why couldn't?
disagree. I think the direct benefit is that the county and state get more funding that can treat our residents that we can't treat because we don't have those programming. County and state does, and they would get more money if we sign on so that our residents can access county and state treatment if needed.
Well, I guess that's, how do they calculate the amount of additional revenue from municipalities like Radnor relinquishing its right to file any future claim? John? So, and do we know that actually makes a difference? You said, well, we want as many people over 10,000 to sign off as we can, and it seems like that benefit inures to something else, and in the meantime, we're relinquishing a right. So, one, how do we know what the difference is in revenue? We don't. I kind of sense that you said you don't really know what the difference in revenue would be.
Nope.
And second, could we sign on and retain any ability to, should it come up in the future, file a separate claim if we identify a viable claim?
Which would be what, Rich? You're a lawyer. What would be the claim that Radnor would have?
I don't know, but that's not for me to know. I'm a
Well,
politician.
but-
I'm just saying, why
saying-
don't we carve that out so that if you bring us something, if
What
something
is
is
it?
brought a month from now,
What
that
is
maybe
it?
we could do it.
You're saying we might have a claim, a valuable claim. I want to hear what it is.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the event that it does occur, why not make a provision that would allow that claim to be made, as opposed to foreclosing that?
Rich, I would invite you to go to their website and read what's been going on with this lawsuit. It's a national nationwide website. These are large cases involving large municipalities, including the Commonwealth, who's really driving the bus on this to a large extent. They're going to have to negotiate some kind of an agreement in terms of splitting the money up, assuming they get the money, because that's not for sure. They need to get enough municipalities to sign on in order to increase the pot. And the releases are releases. You're releasing a claim that you may want to sue.
I understand exactly, John.
And
I'm not sure where we're, the issue is,
But-
isn't that worth something? And two,
I-
how do they measure the benefit from us joining this? Is there any way that you can currently measure the additional money that we get, or that the state would get from us joining, or is
I have no
you
way.
said it still needs to be all negotiated?
Yeah, I have no way of knowing that. I mean, this is early on. They're trying to get as many larger municipalities to participate. In Delaware County's taking a pretty active role. Montgomery County's doing nothing on this.
Wait, Montgomery County's not joining this?
They're leaving it up to the state because they didn't file a suit separately. They're not a plaintiff.
Right, and neither is Radnor.
Correct. Right.
But Delaware County,
Delaware County's taking the lead on this.
so it sounds like Montgomery County might be gearing up to file their own claim on that settlement separately.
I think the larger municipalities are joining the way that the township is going to join by going through the participation form program. Every municipality in the state received correspondence from the Attorney General's office asking them to do that, because most municipalities are not plaintiffs. Delaware County just happens to be a plaintiff in the lawsuit. So they're taking the lead. I got to give them a lot of credit for doing it, really, because they're coordinating this. They've held a couple calls with solicitors throughout the county and explained it, because there's been some resistance and some suspicion and some other stuff about doing it, but.
Yeah, I have the same resistance and suspicions myself.
Well, right, and similar people have had that same suspicion, but I see this as a no-brainer. You fill out a form, you send it in, and the county, you hope, will get a nice pile of money that will fund programs that your residents need. I don't know why that would be an issue.
Well, because of but are you saying that that release, there's no negotiation with that release? You won't be able to do any negotiations?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Rich, thanks. So I have just a couple questions. This seems eerily similar to the tobacco class action lawsuits back about 20 years ago. Am I correct? But this is just done at a municipal or a county level as opposed to an individual. You don't know?
Sean, I don't know.
All right.
those-
I mean,
the class action lawsuits are typically filed by, the state governments.
and this sounds that this
Or
is
the
one
city
being
of
this is
Philadelphia, or-
being one that is being sponsored at least by the state or by the county. Am I correct?
They're parties.
For a non-lawyer and the people at home, this is the best way that I can kind of rationalize it, grasp it, and explain it to people. Am I correct on that, or no?
They're parties to the lawsuit.
They're parties, okay. So
state
there's
and-
multiple parties. How
Correct.
much money are we talking about to the county?
To the county?
Yes.
Probably a couple $1 million.
A couple million, and then what would Radnor, if we sign on this, if we vote for this, what would Radnor be contributing? What would our 20,000 people be contributing to that several million that they're going to get from this settlement?
Well, there wouldn't be any money coming directly to Radnor.
No, but what part of that settlement money
I don't know.
would go to the?
I have no way of knowing that.
Okay. And if we do vote on this and we do, and this goes through, does this affect any, does this affect, sorry, I'm having trouble with the noise. Does this affect what we could go in future lawsuits?
It's a release against.
It's a release.
Against these two parties here.
And what are the, sorry, and I just got my internet, my new, whatever you call it. What are the two parties? I didn't have access to the packet. What are the two parties?
Well, there's a distributor settlement, which is a group of distributors. And there's the other one's called the Janssen settlement, which is a Johnson & Johnson related entity.
So are there going to be more settlements with like Purdue and other pharma companies, or we don't know?
There may be, Sean. But like I said, I'm not in the lawsuit representing anybody. We've been asked to sign off on these for the reasons that we've talked about tonight. I don't see any downside to it.
Okay.
Other than you're releasing a claim, which I don't think you have. So if you have a claim, but the claim isn't worth anything,
That's fine.
you're
And-
releasing it.
I guess, I mean, if there's going to be more of these down the road, if it's, and I don't want to use the name Purdue, but I know that they've been in the news.
So Purdue is part of this.
Oh, they are?
So I'm looking at
Okay.
the release,
Right.
I'm looking at a press release that was issued in September of 2017 when the county filed their suit against it. So it's Purdue Pharma and a couple of their companies, Teva, Johnson & Johnson, Janssen, Ortho McNeil Janssen, Endo Health Systems, Endo Pharmaceuticals, and several specific physicians, it
Okay.
looks like.
All right, thank you. So it just sounds to me that this is like a class action. This is the first round of going after some of these companies. So, all right, thank you. You've answered my question.
Again, there's no way for us to tell how much more would be received from the settlement by the state or county as a result of us signing the release. You can't quantify what it's worth in additional revenue from that.
No.
And if we don't sign, it may have no effect on it as well, on the amount received by the state and county.
That's true. That's possible. We're talking about, intergovernmental cooperation. We've been asked to do it. It makes sense. As I said, I think it's a no-brainer. Only good can flow into the county and then through the Radnor.
Well, one last thing, what Sean mentioned, the tobacco settlements, what a lot of municipalities did was monetize the cash flow and issue bonds secured by that revenue. Doesn't sound like anything like that will be possible as a result of this. There's no additional cash flow. So, with all due respect, John, I see it as the township giving something up for a guarantee of nothing in return, and not even a quantifiable benefit by the people that we're giving it up to what this means. So I'm confused why we would, I just disagree with you that this seems like it's a no-brainer. I think that does really take some thought, and they wouldn't be asking for it if it wasn't worth something.
I'll respond to that. The county, we are getting something, and hopefully this'll, if the money goes to the county, then hopefully our county taxes will be less, and they also need this to help start up their Board of Health. So I worry that we're leaving something on the table for future settlements, but I don't think that we're.
I would say that's going to probably increase the county taxes. That's my view. That any money that comes in will be spent and then some.
So, like I said, I just kind of Googled this and came up with, so this was originally filed, like I said, Delaware County filed it in September of 2017. They sued for damages against 11 major drug suppliers of opioids and the consulting physicians. At the time, it was an unprecedented suit. And I guess the champion of this, Dave White, who at the time was county councilman and co-chair of the county's heroin task force, and Mario Severa, who was chair of county council at the time, they stated that this was an important thing to do. Delaware County has led the way, and I know, and I wish some of our officers, I see Ken back there, but I know that our police, the county has helped outfit our police with Narcan, we have training. So I really don't see a downside to this. The money will go to the county, but I believe that the county, through what will be our new health department, as well as what they've already been doing. So they've got a heroin task force. I'm sure our police are very closely involved with what the county has going on around this issue. This will be something that will filter down to us. We may not get a check or something like that. Maybe we will. But in any case, I believe that this money will be put to good use, as we already have been doing, it seems, for many years in working with the partnership with the county and the municipality. And that can only, and having additional funding to do that can only certainly support that effort. And goodness knows anything we can do to help support efforts to fight the opioid addiction, which is rampant in our suburbs and in our cities. I think that we need to do that. So I will support this effort.
Is there any additional commissioner comment? Any staff comment? Any public comment?
Sarah Pilling, 29 Garrett Avenue. It's many years ago now, but I spent about 10 years working in Chester, Pennsylvania, which was the prime area to get drugs before physicians started prescribing opiates, which is one of the issues. There were very many high-end cars that drove into Chester to do a drug deal and then they'd go back. I would like to see the township sign off for this because this is for the betterment of the entire county. And don't ever think we don't have an opiate issue here in Radnor. We do. And we don't offer direct programming, but if the county gets the money, particularly through the new health department, they will be offering public education to help people who are caught in this opiate cycle, which is most unfortunate. So I would like to see you say yes. Thank you.
Seeing no additional public comment, I will call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Moving on to item 3C, Resolution 2021-140, authorizing the award of contract number B-21-008 for the Willows Park Preserve Water Main Replacement and Fire Service Project to BP Patterson, Inc. in the amount of $285,489.50. I will so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Steve Norsini, can you tell me if this is a component of the, or I don't mean to put you on the spot, whoever knows the answer. I just default to Steve Norsini half the time. Is this a component of the dollars that we have previously earmarked for the Willows Park Preserve?
Yes, sir. This is part of the Willows Enterprise Fund, that $1.6 million that was designated for that, and it's a requirement of the lease agreement with the Willows Park Preserve.
Great. Do we have any additional commissioner questions?
Steve, just to follow on, where does that leave the fund after this money's spent?
So actually, Commissioner, you bring up a good point. So I did want to add, and it'll be the same for the next two projects. So the construction costs we're requesting to be awarded at $285,489. Adding contingency inspections, we're requesting an allocation of $356,860. So, Commissioner, to your point, I don't have that answer. I know there's plenty enough for this project. We'd have to look into that, and then we can get back to you specifically on the balance of that account.
So this money's coming from the township, or is this coming from the WPP?
This is the township's Willows Enterprise Fund, which was designated specifically for improvements to the Willows.
Okay. So you don't know what the drawdown will,
I don't know the balance, but I can have that for you tomorrow. I will work with Mr. Tate to that end.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask you questions, Howard, or no? Can I, or no? Yes? Okay. Just where does, and I know that you've had a bunch of fundraising events and stuff, but where do you, if you don't mind, where do you stand with your balance? Looking forward, I know that I used the term burn rate before. I just curious where you are and I guess we're at the end of the year, going on a new year. We did our budget. Have you have any forecasts of where you think you'll be in the beginning of the year, midway through the year? I mean, have you taken stock of any of that?
Yes. I'm Howard Holden, president of the Willows Park Preserve. As of the end of this particular fiscal year, we're going to come in around 160 grand. We have had an estimate by a reputable fire suppression system that's done a lot of historic restoration with sprinkler systems in this area, including the well of the condominium. And they have given us an estimate of about 160 grand. I don't have the specific numbers. We're coming to you in second commissioners meeting in January with more solid numbers because we are continuing to get contributions, and we just had another significant one come in today. You know, people are doing end of the year giving, so I don't have a solid number, but.
Okay. So it's going to be 160,000 on top of whatever number is on here, and my screen just ended. And do you have the current balance of what your financial situation is? Is it 160,000 that the WPP has in cash?
That's about what we have in cash currently.
Okay,
yes.
and then you're not going to have to add any money to the sprinkler system, or not? Or the township's paying for all of it? No, let me.
We would like to partner with the township, and then if there is in some way we can contribute additional funds, we will. If not, we will be coming back and asking the township if they can assist us.
Okay.
So I think you're completing. So this, what we have here before us, this is not the sprinkler system within the building, correct, Mr. Norsini?
That's correct, ma'am. So this is the least required item of providing domestic and fire service to the mansion as part of the lease agreement, and it will also to the cottage.
So are we going to have to dig up a lot of ground? Is there going to be a lot of construction digging up ground for laying the pipe, or?
Yeah, I believe in the agenda there was a plan.
Unfortunately, I just got my packet,
Okay.
so.
So it's typical, Commissioner, of pipe installation. There will be a directional drill under the pond, but on either side of the pond, it would be your standard cut and cover pipe installation.
Okay.
And it'll all be restored.
Okay, thanks.
So my question was, I thought, my recollection was we had 175,000 in for this portion of the work, and now it seems like it's more than that.
So I don't recall the exact amount that was upfront budgeted. This is the bidding climate that we live in today. It is not favorable to local government and municipalities. So our lowest qualified bid was at $285, $489, and 50 cents. The second one was very close, and it moves forward from there. So this is how the project bid. I am not surprised at these numbers, understanding the bidding climate.
The original agreement on this was the township was going to contribute 1.8 million in various support, including items like this, provide new water service. And there was an estimate that was put together that was the breakdown of the 1.8 million. I guess, how long ago was that? That was more than a few years ago. I guess it was 2018, 2017.
I believe so, Commissioner.
But nonetheless, that 1.8 is going to take an extra big chunk out of this, so there's going to be less money going forward. And I think I hear Sean, and I'm sure Commissioner Abel will chime in to make clear their concern about contributing taxpayer resources if there's not a commensurate and concurrent fundraising effort. And I think that that's the concern. And, you know, we had this on the open space at Ardrossan. The Conservancy was supposed to build trails and parking lots and things, and that never happened. So I guess that's the concern. Can you address that concern, that the township will continue to put money in and that there won't be the funds raised? You said 160 is what you're looking at.
Yes.
But can you address it any further than that?
Not in specific detail, no. Again, this is a fledgling organization. We need the sprinkler system and ADA bathrooms in order to get an occupancy permit. So if we're going to host things at the mansion that can contribute back to the community, we have to get the occupancy permit. If we don't get that, this is for naught.
So I'd just like to add a couple of things. One is, as a donor and supporter, I've watched your fundraising improve incredibly over just the last year or so.
Yes.
I think bringing on the executive director has been a really great add, and the 501c3 I think is as strong as it has been.
Yes.
So I really appreciate the efforts that have been going into the fundraising. I also believe that the question before us is to approve something that we are committed to do by the lease. And I'm hearing from the engineer is that, you know, this is the low bid, it's the going price these days. And then to your point about the occupancy permit, you know, I know that the mission of the Willis Park Preserve is to make this a community space.
Yes.
Where community members can come. The bathroom, very important for that beautiful park and hiking trails, that people can stop off to a comfort station, educational opportunities. I think it's limitless with some creative ideas that I've heard from board members and the executive director. But there's also value in usage fees, where you could actually be bringing in revenue once this is a fully compliant and open space. So, you know, I think the investment into it is only going to further the fundraising initiatives and the positive direction that you've been taking it. And I want to thank you and the rest of the board for putting, it is a fledgling organization, but you're really showing some strength. And, you know, it's a wonderful space, and I'm going to vote for this.
Okay, thank you. No, we're on a roll. You know, we had a lot of events there outside this year, and we feel the community support coming back in. I mean, you know, my son was married there. I mean, I remember tons of activities being held there. And I understand that most likely it was shut down because it was not compliant with codes. And we're going to try and help turn that back around.
So I echo what Commissioner Mulrooney says. I don't think I need to add to that. And thank you, Howard, for being here this evening.
Okay, thank you.
One further question for Steve. Is this prevailing wage project, or is it not prevailing wage?
This is prevailing wage, Commissioner.
I guess, we didn't think that it could qualify as an independent project that would not be prevailing wage?
So it's over $25,000, so it's required for single trade. It's required to be prevailing wages.
Right, but the beneficiary is a 501c. It's not really the governmental entity, right?
It's the township's property.
Steve, when we finish this project, is that the time where we can take a look at the wall? The entrance exit wall?
Yes, sir. I would recommend waiting until after this project is complete.
Okay. You know, I've brought that to your attention before, and a lot of the neighbors in the area have raised that issue.
One more question. So you have about 160,000 in hand, and how much are you spending a month, and how much are you bringing in a month?
Again, I'm not the treasurer.
Okay.
I've got general ideas. I don't want to put numbers out there that, you know, I can't stand
Got it.
on.
At the next, can you have those numbers at the next time you present to the board?
We intend to bring the treasurer with us,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any staff comment? Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard. Look forward to your presentation in January.
Moving to item 3D, Resolution 2021-138, authorizing the award of contract number B-21-003 for the North Wayne Avenue, Poplar Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue, West Avenue, Station Road intersection and pedestrian safety improvement project to Donato Spaventa and Sons, Inc. in the amount of $276,136.50 to be paid from the 2019 general obligation bond proceeds. I will so move. Is there a second? Steve, could you tell us something about this?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. So this project, if you will, begins at Poplar Avenue, crosses Poplar past John's Village Market and takes you to the train station parking lot where you'll have proper crosswalks, proper ADA ramps. The majority of the sidewalk under the bridge will be replaced, and if you've been through there anytime recently, it really needs it. You would then be able to safely cross Station, again, with a proper crosswalk and ADA curb ramps. Similar crossing across North Wayne to the corner, and then there would be another crossing across West Avenue. And this project, to lowest responsible bid by Donato Spaventa and Sons at $276,136.50. So the combination of the 2019 general obligation bond plus the MTF grant total $310,634. That is the ultimate request we're making for this project. So that would cover the aforementioned lowest responsible bidder plus inspection plus contingency.
Is there any commissioner comment?
Sorry, Steve, can you just repeat the total number again?
Yes, Commissioner. So the combination of the balance of the 2019 general obligation bond as well as the MTF grant is $310,634. So the breakdown would be $276,136.50 for construction, $27,613 as a contingency, $6,886 for inspections.
Is there any staff comment? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Moving on to item 3E, Resolution 2021-139, authorizing Gannett Fleming, Inc. to provide professional architectural and engineering services for the feasibility of converting the Fenimore Woods Park Stable Building into public restrooms and storage as part of the Fenimore Woods Park Improvement Project at an estimated cost of $24,860. Tammy?
Yes, President Larkin. So I want to point out that this is a bond project from the 2015 bond. There was a borrowing for park improvement projects that specifically outlined Fenimore Woods. If you'll recall, back in June, the Board of Commissioners had evaluated the project, and under a lot of community input, namely about the trees, we sent this project back to the Parks and Recreation Board, who started to discuss it in a more public process. July up until this point, they're still discussing it, and they're going to discuss it through the new year. But we had a special roundtable meeting back on November 9th where we talked about some of the project priorities, again, namely the trees and the plantings continues to be a top item, as well as the historical preservation of the stable building that currently exists on the site. At one point in time, it had served as the restroom facility for the park. It was shuttered because it started to fall into severe disrepair. What we've learned from the community is that there is a desire to preserve the stable once again as a public space, specifically for the restroom facility to service the park, as well as some storage capabilities. We evaluated this at the Parks and Recreation Board meeting in November. We passed a unanimous vote for the contract not to exceed $20,000 at a vote of 8 to nothing and 8 to 0. And then we had a subsequent discussion in December, just at our meeting last Thursday, where we had a hard number that had been generated by Gannett Fleming, a very, more specific number that brought that cost up to $24,860. We had a support by the Parks and Recreation Board of a vote of 4 to 1. We had a lot of discussion that night. I just want to point out, as part of this, there's still a subsequent proposal that we're waiting on Gannett Fleming and their subcontractor to generate for us that will make a determination about mold and any hazardous materials as part of this evaluation. So that's not included in this $24,860, but that will come later on. But in the interest of wanting to continue to keep the project moving along so we can make this evaluation and essentially see what the building could potentially cost us to restore. And given the amount of funds that are left within that project, this is a big piece that we want to understand. And again, it's something that's been supported by the Parks and Recreation Board.
Tammy, could you repeat what you said? There's another request coming, and what was that for again?
There will be a subsequent proposal we're waiting on from Gannett Fleming, who is working with their subcontractor to generate, that will take a close evaluation at the hazardous materials and mold that potentially exists within the building, so we can understand what those would be and potentially what the remediation process would be and costs, of course, that would go along with it. So just to be clear, this particular evaluation is going to look at the feasibility of the sanitary sewer, the electric, the water, all of the utilities, the corresponding ADA, and then, of course, the configuration within the building to turn it into that public bathroom space and potentially some small ancillary storage.
Is it connected to public sewer or is it septic?
It's not. It's currently, it has a septic leach field that exists
Wouldn't we have to cut
adjacent
down
to
a
the
bunch
building.
of trees?
Pardon me?
Would we have to cut down a bunch of trees in order to connect the leach field and improve the leach field?
I don't think there are any trees right in and around that area, but again, that would be something that will be evaluated as part of this.
Okay. So I'm going to defer to Rich on this, but I'm a little uneasy about voting for a $24,000 project just to evaluate the stable, particularly in the context of a park that's an award of a commissioner who, Rich, this is your last meeting, and we're going to have a new commissioner coming in. So if you say, Rich, this is a great project, you want it, you're the commissioner for the award, you have my vote. If you say you have concerns about it, I'm going to recommend that we table it in favor of the next meeting when Commissioner Myers can opine and tell us what her thoughts are.
Wow, that's a big move right there.
Hold on, there's a point of order. If you're going to discuss this and talk about leach fields, then we should at least have the conversation. So for you to say, well, I don't like it because it's going to cost this, but now I want to end conversation. So it's either the board speaks or it doesn't. You've left it where you wanted to speak, so we should open it up for all the commissioners' comments.
This is commissioner comment.
Yeah, I think,
No one's, okay.
I think that.
Did we second this
I
or
didn't,
not?
I didn't hear
a
Jack
second.
preclude
motion.
Commissioner comment.
What?
There's no motion on the table.
There's no motion
There's no
to
motion.
even have a discussion about this?
No, it was not moved and seconded.
Yeah,
Jack
it was
is
not
correct.
moved and seconded, so there should be moved and seconded.
Didn't we move in
No.
second?
No, you
No,
read
we
it, but
did
you never moved and seconded.
Ah,
We did not
okay,
move
then
and
I'll
second, and
move.
that's why
I'll
there-
move for this item. Is there a second?
Oh, yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, there's no motion to table that is pending. Rich, depending on what you have to say, I may
Well,
need one.
I don't think it depends on what I have to say, but I appreciate the deference. The concern is that there's another analysis that will need to be done, and it will involve any hazardous materials, mold, and the problem with going forward with this without also approving the other element is it may well be feasible until we get the next element, and now we determine that it's not feasible. So, because remediation of hazardous or undesirable conditions is cost prohibitive. So it seems like they should go together, Tammy, that we should do the evaluation of the structure and the sewer and other elements, as well as the environmental review, and they should be done concurrently. That would be, and why commit to it, start spending money on it, and then maybe in the future, we would say, well, it's not worth it because of these other things that you'll bring to us later.
We expect to have a proposal soon from Gannett Fleming, so we can certainly do that. Again, it was brought to you tonight to keep it moving. We know that we have an obligation to spend funds that sit out there, and we saw this as a project that it seemed like the community was really interested in moving forward overall. Again, you know, we had Parks Board support, so just in the interest of keeping it moving forward, that was the goal. So we can certainly take it back and get that proposal from Roger. He can probably have that to us by the first meeting in January, and we can certainly bring it back at that first January meeting that we have and discuss it further.
Tammy, can I just show some pictures of the wall so we know what everyone's looking at if they haven't seen it? Ian, is it possible to put that up on the screen? Okay. So I actually, pardon? Yeah, no, because I sent it to Ian, Tammy gave me the keys. So I was at actually all the Parks and Rec meeting where we were talking about this, and I will say the last thing I ever want to do is knock down something historic. But I mean, it needs a new roof. And that's not a slate roof or a terracotta roof like the Willows. That's just a shingle roof. And Ian, can you go to the next picture? Yeah, yeah, if you can kind of, it is just falling apart beyond belief. I don't know if you go to the next one. That's it. It's just, there's mold inside. And then if you actually go into the actual building, that was kind of scary. It reminded me of a dungeon. I did take your advice, Tammy. I did not go upstairs. So that was one room. That's another room. So I think that this would probably sop up, and I'm no engineer, I'm not an architect, but a good bulk of that 1.2 that's still remaining. And Steve, if you want to just randomly throw out a number, if you're comfortable, or Tammy, if not, I understand. But for me, I heard the people at the Parks and Rec meeting. I get it. I don't want to tear down anything, but I think that this is just beyond anything that we can reasonably fix with a reasonable amount of money, and I think you're going to eat into a majority of that. What is it, 1.2 million that's left, Tammy, give or take?
Give or take 1.7.
Okay. And I think you see how much we're spending on the Willows, and this is in much worse repair. Granted, it's a lot smaller, but environmental is one thing, a roof is something else, structure, mold, it goes on and on and on and on and on. So I would like to actually have this vote. I would not vote to table it, and unfortunately, I appreciate the Parks and Rec's view on it, but I would be voting against this. Thanks.
Okay, in light of what Rich has said, and I would like to hear Maggie's comments, I am going to move to table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion is tabled to the next meeting. Thank you very much. Item 3F, resolution.
Wait, can I just ask one quick question before we move on? So, Tammy, is that building open that anyone can go in? So, Commissioner Farr, did you have to get a key or?
No, it's not open to the public. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, we closed it in 2010. It used to serve
Okay.
as the restroom facility for the pavilion renters. So they would, register, get a key from us in our office. It just so happens Commissioner Farhi, I think, wanted to just go check it out.
Okay, I just wanted to make
take
sure
a look
that
inside,
no one
because
would
it's
get
not, I saw some graffiti in there. I know the Public Works Department check on it often, make sure the tarping and everything is secure, and I think there's some fencing. There should be some snow fencing around the building as well, and we'll have them continue to keep an eye on it so we can make sure it's not becoming an attractive nuisance.
Great, thank you.
I have not been in there, so those pictures were enlightening right there. That's the first I've seen of that.
Item 3F, Resolution 2021-141, authorizing the award of contract number B-21-009 for the rehabilitation of basketball courts at Odorizio and Cowan Parks to Horst Excavating Company in the amount of $166,650.53. I will so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Tammy?
Well, Commissioner, if it's okay, I'll start with the award and then toss it to my colleague, Tammy Cohen, for some of the history and the specifics of the court. So as you can see, Horst Excavating is the lowest qualified bidder at $166,650.53. This is for both basketball courts, one at Cowan and one at Odorizio. So previously awarded by the board was the design portion at $27,440. We're also requesting funds for inspection as well as contingency. I don't anticipate a huge contingency with these courts, but I would rather request that now. So that total is $234,090. In the GOB, we only have 150. So there is an $84,090 potential shortfall, depending on the inspection costs and the contingency. And positive variances in the fund would be used to pay for this, as well as possible interest income on that. And I know you want to know about the specifics of the courts and the process, so I'll turn that over to my colleague, Tammy Cohen.
Oh, thank you, Steve. So this was a project, again, that the Parks and Recreation Board discussed for a good portion of 2021, which ultimately we heard some concerns with regard specifically to Odorizio in not wanting to increase the court in any way or any manner that would disturb the trees, or the tree canopy that serves as a border in the back part of the court. So we were cognizant when we finalized that detail to make sure that that did not happen. Odorizio's court perimeter will just extend approximately 5 feet into the hillside. Again, not to any disturbance of the trees that are in the surrounding area. Consequently as well, over at Cowan, we took a close look there, and what we heard from the community was that they did not want to expand the footprint, see a greater footprint in any way to expand any type of impervious surface. So the size of that court over there will remain exactly the same in terms of what it looks like today. The only difference is some of the paintings are going to look different, really, on both of the courts, in an effort to capture safe, out-of-bounds playing areas within the court structure itself. We had an on-site visit at both parks that served as our June Parks and Recreation Board meeting. I know we had some folks from the community attend. We had a lot of really great discussion. We came back in July. The Parks and Recreation Board passed 2 motions of support detailing each of the courts and what the corresponding changes would be. I know the board was provided that information in September when you authorized the bid. So other than that, if you have any other questions about the specifics on the court, I can answer those. One thing I do want to point out about Odorizio, we have a dynamic that exists on site there where cars drive in and out very closely to where the court exists. So there is going to be a plan for a post and rail fencing strip that's going to go along that side. We're going to remove 5 to 7 parking spots and move them so that they're not, driving right up against the court. And there's also a plan to put bollards in place to keep it safe. We know that there's trouble now with the ball bouncing out of control and going into the parking lot, and always the concern that somebody's going to run out, especially a child, to run out, and try and track down the ball. And then if a car's coming in to the parking lot. So we wanted to build that safety in and around Odorizio specifically. Obviously over at Cowan, since the park basketball court's on the inner part of the park, we don't really have that concern.
I have some commissioner comment. A couple of questions. One to you, Steve. The bids are wildly divergent. Horse coming in, $100,000 more than the highest bid. Do you have any idea why that would be?
So that,
do we trust that they're not going to, the contingency kind of,
so Horst,
or 80 over, can we trust that that's a real number when other guys came in so much higher?
We can. The 276 and 299, I think, are reasonable, and usually I just base that on the data set. So the more you have, you know, the more you see. So even if you look at the previous project, Patterson was 285, DePaul and Company, the high bid was 662.
Yeah.
So there's various reasons why contractors are going to be on the high end. I was a contractor at one point. I know some of those reasons, whether it's they're very busy or, you know, the job isn't enticing to them. Yeah, I mean, so Donato, Spaventa and Sons, and Horst and all these companies, bid bond, performance bond, maintenance bond, and the payment bond, all required.
Okay.
So if there was ever, if an issue did occur, we have the bonds to back us to get that work completed. But I'm confident. I mean, Horst is a known, reputable company. We vetted them. We checked their references. So I believe that is a valid price from Horst Excavating.
Okay, thank you. I guess my other question is around, you know, this is a project for 2 courts, and it's going quite a bit over. So is there an appetite for doing one over another that would keep it within the original bond issuance? Just,
If you're asking me, Commissioner, and I'll defer to Tammy, but Odoricio severely needs to be done. We've met out there several times. There's, besides with issues with the actual court itself, you know, Mrs. Cohen noted the safety factor, the safety issues, and I think Cowan also needs to be done. So when the bond went out, you know, that was a few years ago, and now we move forward over time and bidding climate, and again, I know I hate to repeat myself, but the bidding climate is not favorable for us. I think we've seen that with the last 4 or 5 projects that have come through here.
Yeah, and the only thing
and
I would.
sorry,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
the only thing I was going to add to that is that there's probably, Steve, I mean, you can determine this probably better than I can, but I think there's an economy of scale putting them both out there at the same time that we're gaining as well. So to shelf one project to get the other done, just to be underneath the dollar amount, you know, maybe just isn't reasonable in the long term, and we may end up spending a lot more money on both courts.
Well, okay, and then so speaking of long-term is we are hearing it, that this is just not a good environment for the purchasers of these types of project services. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I just raised the issue, is now the time to go out and do all these projects? We're going into winter. Basketball courts are not going to be used to the extent that they are in other seasons. You know, if we see, are the winds blowing the other way, where we might see that there's some relief several months from now, that prices are going to drop? I know that a lot of this is pandemic, you know, getting materials. I'm just wondering what you're seeing out there.
I see the bid prices. I'm an avid reader of Engineering News Record. I don't see this, you know, changing. And I'll be perfectly frank, there's many times when the bidding climate is favorable, and for no reason, I could not tell you why prices are so high. There's, you know, what goes into the mind of the contractors, I don't know. But my recommendation is to move forward with these projects. I don't know that a month or 2 months or 3 months is going to make a difference until we start coming out of these things.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Sean.
So first of all, Tammy, thank you. Field trips are great, and that's what we did with Parks and Rec, so it was great. We had a fair amount of people that came out and voiced their opinion. So these are our safety issues, number one, so I think that they should be addressed. In regards to the favorability issue when it comes to bidding climates, no one knows. So you could throw the dice out there, and you know, to save $30,000 may cost yourself $200,000. The perfect example of that is every time that you say no, and these bids, they lock up, and they lock up for 30 days or 60 days or what have you. The perfect example that I see was the one at the Comfort Station at Emlyn Tunnel. The prices kept rising and rising and rising, so it was what should have been a $120, $130 project, maybe a little bit more, because it was pushed back for years because of inflation in labor and material. It actually was about a $500,000 project. So while we have low interest rates, because you have low interest rates, typically you have higher materials because people want to build, because a lot of that money that is being used for loans. So you are going to have the material, the price issue when it comes to materials. But so Cowan is one park, but the Odorriccio, it serves what I feel some of the people are maybe an underserved community, and that park has been underserved. When you look at other amenities in that park, like the Comfort Station, as well as other fields, and so I'm going to vote for this. I don't love the basketball court up in Cowan. I think it should be near the Comfort Station, near the playground. They should all be together. That was changed years ago. I'll keep my opinion about that to myself. But it's underserved, and this community has been asking a long time for this, and they've been waiting for this. So without a doubt, they have my support on this.
Hey, Steve, so did Horst do Bill Connor Park? Did they do the basketball court there?
No, that was Gessler, who was also a bidder here.
Okay. Have we seen any courts that the Horst company has completed?
I have not physically been to a basketball court that they have completed. We did check their references. They were fine. I can tell you anecdotally, Horst is a sizable company that's been around for some time. And then again, we have the bid bond, we have the performance and payment bond, and ultimately a maintenance bond.
Okay.
Government, ensures that we have these backstops along the way.
Okay. Tammy, just to be clear, are any trees coming down at Odorriccio for this project?
No, Commissioner, no trees are going to be removed.
Good.
And they'll be protected as needed
Good.
for the project and as required by the
Good.
project.
Good, I appreciate that. And on the side closest to the parking lot, are we changing the footprint?
No, there's really not going to be a footprint change. The court lines are going to be moved in commensurate so that we can set up the fencing that I referenced and the bollard system. And like I said, the change will come in the footprint of the parking lot itself, because we're going to eliminate the parking. There's defined parking spots along the court that abut right up against the baseline right now, which is very close. So we're going to eliminate those.
And will the parking lot be relined completely?
That's something we can do. Like, we can do that with our Public Works Department once we get the project underway. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of mobilization that's going to impact the parking lot adversely. So generally what we try to do with some of these projects is when they are completed, we try to clean up where we can with using in-house staff.
Right, so to do nothing in the parking lot and take away the spots, you're saying we lose 5 to 7, but there's a chance if we reconfigure and reline, we may not lose as many?
No, according to this plan, we are going to lose those
So
parking
even
spots.
if-
We're
even if-
losing them in the interest of safety.
Right.
We're not losing them in the interest of expanding the court into the parking lot,
But
just
if
to
you-
be clear.
But if you were to reline, you couldn't save a couple spots?
I'm actually recommending that we lose the spots in the interest of safety. And based on the discussions, again, that I've had with some of the neighbors about the concerns about the ball bouncing, because not only is the post and rail fencing going to come down parallel to how the parking lot is situated, but it's also going to turn in perpendicular to be able to catch a bouncing ball that's rolling ahead before
Okay.
it goes out into the parking lot.
Okay.
It might go down over the hillside, but, we don't want it to roll out into the actual parking lot where an oncoming car could come in.
Okay, and so this would, if this passes tonight, the plan would be to resurface spring of 2022 and have it ready to go sometime late spring?
Weather pending, I think we want to get started on the project as soon as possible. I know Horace is going to have some time to get, the administration process, and paperwork and everything signed and sealed. I think we're ahead on a lot of that, in working through this process, and getting it done, as soon as the weather is conducive. If the weather stays the way it is right now, they can certainly get started as soon as possible.
Probably realistically would be a March start time, unless, like Tammy said, if we can hold this weather, that's fantastic.
And then when they begin construction, will that whole parking lot be off limits?
No.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just have a quick question, and Steve, I'm sorry, can you just go over for me again? So the cost of the project is more than what we had in the bond, correct? These two projects?
So that the GOB, the estimate at the time of the bond issuance was $150,000. Of these proceeds, $27,440 has already been authorized for design. So I took the $166,000, the $27,440 for design, added to that inspection and contingency fees, that's a combined $40,000, and came up with $234,090, which is approximately $84,090 above, is a shortfall. Out of that, $40,000 is inspection and contingency. I don't anticipate using that amount, but we want to make that request up front to the Board of Commissioners.
So you think it could be about 40,000 over what we budgeted?
I think more realistically is the 50,000, 50 to 60 as opposed to 80.
Okay, but we've saved money on some of the other projects in that bond, correct?
And that's the positive variance in the fund that will help, that will fund this.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you very much.
Is there any additional commissioner comment?
One more thing. We talked about the asphalt. Is there asphalt available right now to work? So is the repair of these courts going to be repair of asphalt, and won't that have to wait till spring if it is?
Yeah, most likely, it's going to be March. At this time of year, the vast majority of asphalt plants are closed, right, for maintenance, and then they're all geared up to start in the spring. I mean, there's one or two open, but realistically, it'll be a March. If the weather works with us, it'll be a March start time.
And I guess, Jake, your concern is the parking, and we don't, Tammy does not want to restripe it to regain some of those spots, so is that a critical item is that a deal breaker for you to lose those spots?
No, and I wasn't questioning losing spots over safety. I was just, my question was, if you reline.
Yes, you said, why not restripe it? And the answer was no.
Well, Commissioner, what we'll do, I don't know the width of the current spaces, so we can measure the current spaces. Possibly, maybe we do pick up one or two, but I would move forward on the assumption that we don't, and if we can, that's a bonus.
Yep, that's a perfectly fine answer for me.
And just to clarify, we do intend to restripe it after the impact, of course, occurs as a result of the construction.
Last comments? Staff comment? Public comment?
Hi, Stephen Fletcher. I live at 242 Highland. So this basketball court is essentially my backyard. I look out at it from my office where I work from home every day, and I can say since moving into my house in April, I have yet to see a day, even in inclement weather, where it's not being used, at least the half court that is usable. I was not able to attend earlier meetings, so I won't pretend to know the conversations, or the issues regarding safety. I can just see my own observations of what's out there, and having grown up here in Radnor Township and seeing an Odorisio field that has been untouched since the days I played on it in the late 80s and early 90s, including on this basketball court, which has woefully been left to disarray. I am saddened that this is combined with a secondary project, and those two projects are still being less than other projects of equal standards, and that's concerning to me. It's been expressed already, but I don't want to do anything to dissuade making an improvement because so little has been done to serve this community. And like I said, in the months I've lived there, I've never seen this not used. Now, I'm not quite sure I understand putting a fence for safety. That to me is safety for the cars, not for the people, because I'm not really sure just how that would work. And again, I observe it all day, so I'm not sure how a bouncing ball requires this movement. But again, I would ask the commissioners and I would ask the township in general to give some attention to the park, just like you are doing now. But it does feel like a little less than could be granted and could be given to a community that is underserved, who will use this every day, and who do use it, even in the inclement weather we just had this last weekend. And frankly, I would love to see that made even more. Heck, I was the one talking to Jake about why don't we put 2 courts there so we can have 3-on-3 basketball tournaments outside like they do in other communities. I mean, it's an Olympic sport, but I'm not going to go any further than that because I don't want to hear no's. What I'd love to hear is this is step 1. And come March, that this board will take upon it, other than those who are no longer going to be serving with us. Thank you, Rich, for your service. That way you all will really look into Odoriceo and this underserved community in trying to bring it up to the standards we're expecting in the rest of the township. Because boy, I'd love to watch out there and see some good basketball and not see people tripping and falling. So thank you.
One thing before we vote on this, is the fence for the cars or is the fence for safety? And if it is for safety for the people playing, isn't it a danger somebody would run into the fence and that make it more dangerous?
No, so the fence will be outside of the safety boundary that'll be part of the design on the court. So there'll be, I believe on that side, there's a 3-foot buffer between what would be where the fence is located and the end line. So if somebody was to step out of bounds, they'll have a 3-foot buffer. And then there will be the fence where the fence will be situated. So the genesis for the fence was based on some of the conversations I had with some of the residents who had concerns with a bouncing basketball rolling into the parking lot. And the children or the players running out into the parking lot, you know, to grab the ball and chase the ball down, as kids tend to do. And for fear of, you know, encountering a vehicle that's coming in. So that was the purpose of the fence, to catch the ball, which we see has been successful over at Clemacrone Park. We installed post and rail fencing on the outside of the basketball courts to catch the balls before they run into the rain garden. So that was the genesis for the fencing. And then on the other side, on the parking lot side of the fencing would be the installation of bollards, which would provide the safety of the cars. So not quite as large as what we have at Emlyn-Tennell Park, right up against the comfort station, but something similar of a concrete structure.
Again, my only concern is somebody running into either pipe bollards or to fences, and, you know, is that a concern? So.
Well, I mean, in safety standards, generally that 3-foot buffer zone will allow the ability for a player to catch themselves before they would go towards the fencing. So. That was sort of what we used in terms of identifying what the safety boundary zone spacing would be. So currently, there's nothing. I mean, if you step outside of the playing line because you step out of bounds, on one side, you know, you go down over the hillside on what's about probably about an 18-inch drop, or on the side of the parking lot now, the court rolls down a little hill. So you step down about a foot drop. So that's the safety issue that we're trying to address by moving the line in.
Tammy, what kind of fence is it going to be? A chain link?
Post and rail, so something that you would see just like we have at
And that's
Clemacrone Park.
That's going to be able to stop a
or Enki.
ball? That's
Yes.
going to be able to stop a basketball?
A rolling ball.
And then
If
will-
it bounces high and over
Okay.
it, obviously it's not
And
going
then
to
will they
catch
be
it.
wrapped or have some kind of cushioning in case someone, I don't know if anyone here seen Aaron Rowan when he went face first into a wall at the old ballpark. It didn't end up well for him. So would that be wrapped? Is there going to be any kind of wrapping or cushioning on the fences?
We can evaluate
Either
putting
there
that if
or-
we feel
or
that
at
that's needed.
Cowan?
we
I
can
think that's-
evaluate that.
Yeah, just so it's not pure metal, maybe like that
Yes.
plastic.
It would, yeah, because it would have a fabric.
Okay.
A cushion, a fabric inside that we can evaluate attaching cushioning to if needed.
Okay, public comment? Anything else? I'm calling the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Moving to item 3G, ordinance number 2021-14, adoption, amending the code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 270, Section 270-31, special purpose parking zones, removal of the handicap parking zone on Ecus Avenue. I will so move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any commissioner comment? Staff comment? Public comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Ordinance, item 3H, ordinance number 21-19, adoption. Parking prohibited at all times for West Wayne Avenue, southeast side from Wicklow Court to Conestoga Road. I will so move. Is there a second? Is there any commissioner comment? Is there any staff comment?
Why is this necessary? Don't we want to have parking on West Wayne?
This is the one, if I'm remembering correctly, this is the one that's across from the church where we have redone, where we've added the bike lane as part of the trail, and having the parking there was causing some safety concerns. By eliminating the parking, my recollection is the chief said that we were going to lose 2 parking spaces? One?
One spot.
This is the homeowners association approached the police department, the staff traffic unit, Officer Pyrie and the team looked at it, and there's an SUV or any type of large truck, I shouldn't pick on an SUV. If it parks there, anybody coming out of Wicklow Court to make a left or a right had a sight distance issue, and we feel it would be much safer to remove that. So with the addition of the extra bike traffic and everything else, to your point, Commissioner, it would be much safer due to sight distance is why we're asking for the 1 spot to be removed.
I'm sorry, which spot was that again?
Wicklow Court, where the new condos are, when they would exit that single source driveway, I believe I don't know how many units, but that's six or so units. When they come out, they can't see if a big vehicle is there.
Rich, it's the one spot between Wicklow Court and the Thai restaurant on the corner of Conestoga and West Wayne.
Is there any staff comment? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye, I
All
guess.
opposed, nay.
Don't complain about no parking.
Moving to item 3I, ordinance number 2021-22, introduction, amending the code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 270, Section 270-31, special purpose parking zones, establishing a new handicap parking zone at 109 Plant Avenue. I will so move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any commissioner comment? Staff comment? Public comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ordinance number 2021-13, adoption, Radnor Business Privilege and Mercantile Tax Ordinance Amendment to permit rounding to the nearest dollar. I will so move. Is there a second? Any commissioner comment?
When we last left this ordinance, we talked about rounding down, and so was there any update on the rounding down as suggested by Commissioner Fahy?
So the ordinance that we approved last time was round to the nearest dollar. I recall the conversation, but the ordinance that's in the packet that we're voting on today is round to the nearest dollar.
Well, it failed the motion to amend. So Commissioner Fahy is suggesting that I make a motion to amend it. If you want to say, so I'll try one more time, move to round down, so if it's 99 cents, it would be rounded down to the nearest dollar. That would be, to change this to reflect that. Is there a second?
Okay, I've heard a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. Motion fails. Any additional commissioner comment? Any staff comment? Any public comment? All in favor of ordinance 2021-13, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Any reports of standing committees of the board?
I have two quick things. So one is, I just want to congratulate the Radnor Memorial Library on their very successful Elves for the Shelves run. It was 2 Saturdays ago. 2 Saturdays, yeah. And they had, I believe, over 300 runners come out on a cold morning. But it turned into be very successful. We have a board meeting on Thursday, and I'm sure that they will be sharing how much money they raised. And thank you to everyone in the community who participated and supported the event. I know they had a lot of corporate sponsorship as well as local businesses that supported, and it really was a fantastic morning. So thank you to everyone who came out. And then the only other thing I want to thank specifically Frank Paris from our Shade Tree Commission. So Frank spearheaded along with Ricky Foster from our Public Works. They worked on this, and I think the Radnor Conservancy was involved as well, Gretchen Grobel, this bare root planting. So they secured these free trees from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, and they planted them in various places around the township. There were trees planted in areas where PICO had to take down trees. They planted them at Canal Park, a bunch of other locations around the township. So I'm pretty sure from looking at the list, probably almost every single ward benefited in some way from these 40 free trees. And our Public Works staff, we had James Gibbons, who's a private citizen who owns a landscaping business, help plant the trees along with Public Works, and a group called Radnor Tree Tenders, which is a new group. So I just want to thank Frank and Shade Tree, as well as Ricky and our staff, and everyone from the community who joined together to make this project happen and plant new trees. They're nice trees, and thank you also to the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society for the donation.
I'd just like to give a shout out to Tammy Cohen and her crew for Santa's Delivery. I thought it was just another wonderful event. I think it's the 9th year. Keeps growing year after year after year. It looks very simple, but I think there was, 700 plus families that were serviced. And the people that get to deliver the gifts are more of the face, but the amount of of work that goes in between 5 fire companies we've used helped us by loaning them their trucks, our Public Works Department, our police force, our volunteer citizens police force, staff, just regular volunteers. Tammy had the whole list. I know that I am missing, I'm probably missing people, but it was always a wonderful day, one of my favorite events, and it really makes Radnor such a great place to live, and it's an honor for me to be a commissioner and live and serve in this community. So thank you to everyone who was out there and helped out and put smiling faces on some kids. I think that's great. The other thing too, we are having on the Parks and Rec, we are having someone step off. I believe Chris Campbell. And Campbell? Yes. And he served for 8 years, and he did a great job. Sad to see him go, but his time is up. So if you're interested in serving on the Parks and Rec Board, you can contact me, but Bill White or Peggy, let somebody know. We'll pass that on. I've reached out to 2 people. I have a short list of 2 people I think that they would be that could serve. I've reached out to them, but if you want to serve this board or any board, contact Bill, Peggy, myself, whomever, and try to get you situated. Thanks.
Do we have any new business?
I'm not sure if this really qualifies as new business, but I don't think it's a committee. I want to say thank you to Molly and everybody who worked on the new website. It is fantastic. It's already, I think, improved services. Things are easy to find. It really looks great. And I know how much work went into that and how long it took to get us here, but I think it's a great improvement. So thank you for that.
Do we have any old business?
Yep, just one item. On Saturday, we held our third and final cleanup day, community cleanup day at the First Baptist Cemetery. I want to thank Boy Scout Pack 19 and Ethan Pack, Boy Scout Pack, Wayne Pack 284, and then Ethan Pack 19 for supporting and coming out and helping clean up the park. We will reconvene in early 2022 to start cleanup days, and just asking Bill if there's any movement on the donation from the resident that we talked about with regards to the fence.
So yes, we met with that donor. He provided the money, the $10,000 to the township that's currently sitting in escrow, earmarked for that site. And as requested, Public Works is seeking pricing on the fencing. We hope to have that here in the next couple of days to have on a future board agenda.
So early 2022, we'll see that on an agenda?
Yeah, the next agenda once we get the pricing.
Okay.
If not January 3rd, definitely by the second meeting in January.
Okay, thank you.
Also, old business. I would like to thank again all the people who've contacted me and written and called in support and who've been with me and helped me to understand over the last 8 years how the township works and what the issues are and what our role as government should be. As you all know, I'm in the minority on this board as a Republican. It's going to be 6-1, and so we all will pull for Jake. And people who know me know my mantra, a conservative mantra of lower taxes, smaller government, greater individual liberty, and personal responsibility. And I hope that we can continue to have that in mind on this board, despite the lack of conservative participants. This nation and all of us, that we're conceived in liberty, and individual liberty and personal responsibility are cornerstone. And I encourage this board to respect the personal liberty of all of the constituents and to avoid the divisiveness that we have seen in so many instances in the political arena. And two thoughts to leave you with: that this country is founded on the American dream and e pluribus unum, and we need to remember those and incorporate them into our lives. The American dream of no matter who you are, if you work hard, if you treat people fairly, no matter who your parents were, no matter where you came from, whether you're an immigrant, whether you're any color, you have the opportunity to succeed in America, no matter who you are. And e pluribus unum, from many, one. We have diversity in so many ways in this country, and we recognize and celebrate the diversity of all Americans. But we also know to set that aside and to come together as one in the American values of liberty and justice that is colorblind. We can never mete out justice on the basis of immutable characteristics. that in and of itself is racism, and that is not how this country is founded, and that is not a value. The woke politics of today is designed to divide our people and to empower the few. We must reject those who trade in neo-racism and division, and remember, we are one nation, e pluribus unum. Again, I thank the people of Radnor for allowing me to serve and wish you all the best in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I will move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will see you all next year.
Well, actually, you didn't say, we have a meeting on the 20th.
January 3rd is our next meeting, I think. Is that right, Bill?
There's,
Isn't
on
that in
the, on the schedule, it says the
20th?
20th still.
Yeah,
I don't think we have a meeting on the 20th.
no, the meeting on the 20th will be canceled. Canceled.
It will be. He said it will be.